So nam aloha, everyone. Okay, let's go round two here. And I learned my lesson to be checking the comments earlier. Okay, so this is a live stream on the new moon here. And so May 19th is the new moon. And you can see that it's in the 8.5 there. And I just wanted to mention that we're still in this Pluto and Jupiter are still activating the channel of mutation. You can see this down here with the 360. So this means massive global change at the DNA level. So it takes time to see the effects of that out in the external world, but we're all going through this transit as a humanity. So this is great, great change, right? This 3 and the 60. Okay, so we got that going on. And then we've got the moon, which is in the 8.5, and then the sun 8.5. That makes it a new moon. And so this is the shadow of mediocrity. It's the gift of style and the city of uniqueness or exquisiteness. So this is really about being your authentic self. So I did a whole video on this this pattern, the 8. I think it's called Don't Care What Other People Think About You or something like that. But I'll link it at the end. And so be sure to watch that. I think it's only like 12 minutes long, but it's very good. Okay, so then we've got the tarot card. And so this wasn't picked randomly. You can see in the astrology chart that there's something called decans. There we go. Right? So each zodiac sign is 30 degrees, right? And then we've got 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30. So that's called a decan. So the third decan of Taurus relates to the 7 of Pentacles right here. Okay? So this is these questions this is all about investment, right? All about investment. So are you investing your time and energy into the right activities that are correct for you at the soul level? Are you clinging on to something that's failing, right? And then open up to the transitoriness of the material world. So remember how I approach astrology and human design is really about the evolution of the soul. It's not about the evolution of the ego and making yourself all comfortable in the material world. It's about you getting comfortable being in self, right? Your authentic self, being the true, the eternal self. That's where your comfort is. That's where your security is. And then you become comfortable in the world. It's being in the world, but not of the world, right? That famous quote. So what's really interesting, so here's the quote I got from Nietzsche here. You may not like him or not, but I like this quote. So the individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. If you try it, you'll be lonely often and sometimes frightened, but no price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself. Right? That's Nietzsche. So that really describes the time that we're in right now as we enter into the cross of the sleeping phoenix coming in 2027 and leaving this tribal consciousness, right? So it takes courage. That's what the 8 is saying. It takes courage to be yourself, right? You're not going to be supported in this world to be your authentic self. Not yet. As more and more people really live as their authentic selves, that there'll be more support, energetic support for many more people to have permission to be themselves. And that's the greatest gift you can give someone too, is to accept that person as they are, right? Their authentic self. So the other interesting thing is look at that, the top heavy, right? All those planets in Taurus. So we've got Jupiter, Mercury, Uranus, Sun, Moon, and the planets in the sign of Taurus. And then the North Node is in Taurus. So the nodes of the moon are very important because they show us the karmic axis that we're on. So it shows us where we are to go to evolve, right, on the soul level, as a collective of humanity. So the North Node is where we go. That's the horseshoe down. And then the horseshoe up is what we leave behind. So there we go here. There's the chart again, right? So the north node, you can see here, is in 27.3, and then the south node is in 28.3. So the north node, it's been in Taurus, the zodiac sign of Taurus, for a while. It stays 18 months, and then it flips, and then it flips again. So this is going to be, it's going to be in Taurus, the north node in Taurus, until July 11th of this year. So it's going to flip soon, right? And then it's going to move into Aries, and that should be July 12th, right, 2023, until January 11th, 2025. So we're in Earth school, remember that, right? As a soul, you come, you've incarnated, and then you've got certain lessons. We have certain lessons. You've got your own natal, right? Your natal nodal axis to follow, but then we have this global, right? So we're also influenced by these global transits too. So to keep that in mind, okay? And so we want to look at what we have to leave behind. What do we have to leave behind? This is what is soul draining to you, right? So this is, yeah. Okay, I'm just checking the comments that you can hear the sound and everything. Sleep can be affected. I said that in the first round, that your sleep can be affected, right? So this is the channel of mutation up here, right here, this 360. So this is how we can experience this mutation. There's so much going on, right? That it can affect your sleep. It can affect your diet. Maybe, right? Maybe your diet is shifting and changing. Maybe you're not so hungry. Maybe you're insatiable for food. Maybe your cravings have changed, right? Not to judge it, right? Your body's letting you know what it needs. Your body's got to catch up with all this huge mutative energy that's happening from the DNA level, right? Your energy level can be like through the roof one day. I've got so much energy, and then other times it's like, oh, I feel so deflated, I can hardly do anything. It's to remember that you're being supported, that life is supporting you as you go through these huge shifts and changes, right, with this channel of mutation. So don't go into the ego like, oh, it's always going to be like this. It's just, no, it's something that's passing through, right? Let me see. Yeah, the energy's been phantom. The energy's been intense since the eclipses. And it's just like, we've got 6 months for it to level out, right? It ripples for 6 months. Yeah. Okay. Congratulations at the bakery, Jen Goodwin. I've just started sleeping again. Yeah. So remember that the North Node is in the 27, and that's the gift of nurturance, right? It's about nurturing this yourself as you go through these changes. Okay. So let's go to, so we did this. Okay, so that's going to shift and change. So what's soul draining? This is what we want to leave behind. This is what the ego is going to be telling you to do, right? So searching for a soulmate or a savior, right? So having thoughts like this. So the South Node is a real pull. It's like pulls you back, right? This duality that we live in, this plane of duality. You've got one, we're reaching up, and then we've got something that's pulling us down. It's this tension, right? This tension that we need in order to grow. So this has a search for a soulmate or a savior. So this is really about fearing being alone, right? Being alone. And a soulmate, we've been conditioned by that term, right? What a soulmate is, and it's coming from that ego. The ego's version of a soulmate is, you're just like me. I want somebody identical to me, maybe in a different body. They're attractive, right? Another gender, so we have the polarity going on, right? Another gender expression. But basically, you anticipate all my needs and my wants, because the ego is filled with desire, wants, and needs, right? You agree with everything I say. You don't challenge me, right? We're like two peas in a pod, and we're just comfortable. This is what the ego wants, right? Is that comfortability, not to grow, not to evolve. And that's what they consider a soulmate. but it's coming from a real fear of being alone, right? So this can be a huge distraction on the spiritual journey, is a relationship that's not correct for you, right? That's not correct for you. That's a huge distraction, right? So this is like overly focused on other people, right? You want to leave that behind. Having no boundaries, no sense of self, right? You can't get into a relationship if you don't have a sense of your own self. You don't have a sense of your own self, you're going to be swept away by a group ego. Even two people, a couple that don't know themselves, they get swept up in a group ego takes over the relationship. So this is a no-no for this time that we're in, right? And the North Node, like I said, is flipping, right? July 12th, it's going to flip into Aries. And the South Node is in Libra. Libra is all about relationships. It's leaving that behind, right? So we're in a huge individuation process right now. You have to be your authentic self. That's what you can count on. Your authenticity, that's your eternal self. It's who you really, really are, right? So we've got another couple years of that, like not be focused on the relationship stuff. Focus on yourself. Or looking for a savior that's going to come in and do all the work for me and save me, right? I don't have to face my fears then, do I? If I have a savior that's going to do it all for me, right? I don't have to face any shadows. But that's part of your growth, to transcend your shadows. And it fosters this dependence, right? This is codependency. It fosters that dependence on another person. I can't survive. I can't figure it all out. I need another person, right? This goes deep because we're leaving this old paradigm behind of codependency into self-reliance. This is part of the cross of the sleeping phoenix, that it can be uncomfortable because we're not only pushing through culturally and right, and societal, right? It's also your ancestors. It's all your past lives have you've operated from this perspective, right? So you're coming into a whole new paradigm. But it takes effort, and this is what the North Node is going to show you, right? Effort and persistence. So seeking your self-worth through other people, right? I'm a good person. I feel good about myself when that other person validates me, tells me that I'm a good person. I don't know that I'm a good person until someone else reflects it back to me. That sort of thinking. You want to let that go. Look, he's running away. He's running away from that. Allowing others to define who you are. Allowing others to define your values, right? So you got to value what I value. I won't accept you unless you take on my values, right? Do you see how you're like a jellyfish? You lose your power. You lose your power. The no boundaries, overly focused on others. You don't even have the self-esteem to know that you even have a boundary, right? Too focused on what other people are doing or what they're not doing, right? Not on yourself. And then this power struggle with others, to let that go. Because really the power struggle, what's going on, because it's just a reflection, right? The power struggle with other people is just a reflection of what's going on inside you. And the power struggle is with that ego. Am I going to follow the ego or am I going to follow my divinity? That's the power struggle. And then we play it outside on the external, right? So that we can see it. And this feeds the ego. This conflict feeds the ego. So of course the ego wants to have people around. It wants other egos, right, to fight with. So it can be fed. It can be fed. Projecting your own fears and your own shadows on other people. And I see this in relationships. One partner is very fearful about their physical health, losing their physical health, right? And then they project it onto their partner. I'm worried because he doesn't take good care of himself and he's going to get sick and meanwhile he's like perfectly healthy. Well, that's the projection. So this drains your soul when you don't take responsibility for your own fears, right? What am I projecting on other people? And then take it back. Oh, this is really a fear of mine. I'm just projecting onto them, right? So the ego is going to really push this agenda, these soul draining ideas, right? And thoughts and worries and fears. And, but more importantly, not getting you to act on them, right? To act on them. Oh, I've got to go. I've got to get a partner. Or I have to hold and cling on to this partner that's not good for me. I'm not growing. I'm regressing. But I'd rather stay with this relationship, this bad relationship, than facing my own fear of loneliness, right? I don't want to face that. And who doesn't want to face it? It's your ego doesn't want to face this loneliness. Because when you finally face it and you feel it through, this loneliness, I'm alone, you come to the realization that you're never alone, right? Your eternal self is not alone. It doesn't know loneliness, your eternal self, right? It's all oneness. So the belief pattern, because each one comes with a belief pattern, I'm not complete without another person. This is a lie. This is a total lie. I'm not complete with another person. With the cross of the sleeping phoenix and the age of Aquarius, that you're whole and complete onto yourself. That's the truth. These are the new relationships that are coming that I talked about, the Aquarian age relationships. I don't need that person for this. And this is different than the ego, the independent egos. I don't need anybody. I'm an island. As soon as the ego's in there, there's duality. There's going to always be dualities. I don't need anybody. And then there's going to be another ego inside you that's going to say, oh, I can't survive without anybody. I need people. They work together, right? These egos work together. So to remember that you're complete and whole unto yourself, that's the truth. Right? This is what we have to experience in this incarnation, in this lifetime, is that we are whole and complete within ourselves. And my self-worth, the other belief, comes through other people. And this isn't true at all, right? Your self-worth is intrinsic. So let's look where you go to, right? Where do I go? I go here for my soul growth now, till July, right? Till July. So this is going to charge your battery up here, right? So self-reliance, right? Self-reliance, becoming reliant on the self. This is not like I got to phone, 10 of my friends before I make a decision. I've got to go on the internet and I've got to research and do this and do that. I give all my power over to the external world and they're going to make the decision for me. This is different. This is self-reliance, like relying on your eternal self, your higher self, listening to that inner voice, right? Listening to that, your intuition. And then the parallel timeline is because Scorpio, South Node Scorpio, we're leaving behind, the soul draining. This is all about destruction. That's what Scorpio does. It destroys. So we're seeing that out in the world. We're seeing the South Node for sure out in the world, right? Things are being destroyed. Things are dissolving. Well, the parallel timeline is, are you going to run and chase that South Node and get all upset because things are dissolving, things are changing, right? Or am I going to get on this other timeline? This is the North Node, right? What am I creating? What's being built around me? What's working? What opportunities am I seeing, right? How am I nurturing? 27, right? That's the North Node. 27, nurturance. How am I nurturing my growth, my self-reliance? How am I nurturing so that I can hear that inner voice, right? That I can hear that inner voice in my intuition, that I can rely on myself more and more, right? Go on that timeline. You want to be on that timeline, not the destruction timeline, the creation timeline. There's things being created. There's a whole new consciousness that's emerging on this planet. Mainstream news is not going to cover it because they're part of the destruction, right? They're part of that timeline. You're on a new timeline. And I love that meme I posted, right? There's the accurate news. Your third eye is you're going to get the most accurate news right here. Right? There's a whole news channel going on inside you, in each one of us, right? There's this new consciousness is coming, and we're going to start to see it flower and blossom. Okay, so get on that for your soul growth. Pro-solitude. Now, I was meditating on this today after sadhana. The whole world is set up for extroverts, right? It's an extroverted world. And so the introverts are stigmatized. Why are you so quiet? Why are you so shy? And you're antisocial. You don't like to be with people, right? If you flipped it on the other side, why are you so noisy? Why do you talk constantly? Why can't you be quiet? Why are you running around with people all the time, right? Why are you so out there in the world all the time, right? So the introverts are called antisocial, but you could say, well, you're anti-solitude, right? Anti-solitude. So introversion has been stigmatized, and this is the North Node is telling us to go inside, right? To go inside. We want to be pro-solitude, right? Nurturing that time for ourselves so that we can listen to the inner voice and tune out all the noise. That's the extroverts, right? All this mental chatter out there. I need constant stimulation. I need experiences. I want. And it's all in the external world. You want to tune all that out, right? You want to get your radio frequency to your higher self, to your intuition, so that you can hear, right? Hear yourself. So making time for that, right? Making that space and time for yourself alone, to be alone. And then self-empowerment. This is the realization that the power is inside you, right? Self-node is all the power is outside here. All the power is out here. Other people have power over me. Money has power over me. Material stuff has power over me. That person has power over me. The boss, the landlord, or whatever, my partner, that friend, they have power over me. It's just to let all that go and to realize that the power is inside you, right? This is about power. It's about taking your power back, right? For this new cross of the sleeping phoenix in the Aquarian age. So how can I empower myself? It's how you talk to yourself. I have the power here, right? And one of the great ways, because the victim consciousness is like, I've got no power, right? To get yourself out of this, which I've talked about before, is that I have choice. That's where your power is. I have choice in this moment. How am I going to experience? Right? I'm having experiences. Right? Am I going to react? Am I going to respond to this? That's your power, right? That's your power right there. I have choice in how I experience this. Am I going to suffer this experience, or am I just going to, this is an experience that will pass, come and go, right? It's recognizing the transitoriness of the external world. So to recognize that you have the power within you and you have choice, that's your real power, is I have choice in this moment how I experience, right? How am I experience? What's the quality of my experience in this moment? Am I going to suffer? Am I going to enjoy it? Am I going to be neutral about it? That's my power. And then patience and persistence. This is Taurus. This is showing up as yourself every single day. That's all life wants from you, is to show up as you, your authentic self, not go turn into a robot, an automaton, letting everybody else make all your decisions for you. You're just this jellyfish. You want to be patient with your process and how you show up in the world. Sometimes you're going to show up and you're going to feel down. Do you know what I mean? You're going to feel down. You'll maybe feel depressed and sad. That's okay. But you're showing up as you. I'm showing up as me, and I'm depressed today. I'm depressed today. Am I really depressed? No, the higher self never gets depressed. But this is my experience. I'm just experienced in depression today or sadness today. I know it will come and go. Right? I'm showing up today, and I'm really enthusiastic, and I'm excited about life. Well, that's how you're showing up that day, right? It's going to change. It's just accepting the transitoriness, even of you, right? Even of you. So being patient and persistent, right? I'm committed to be myself. I'm committed to be myself, whatever that is. I'm not going to worry about other people. Oh, they're going to be offended or they're going to be impacted because I'm feeling sad, right? Just let all that go. Because the greatest thing you can do for anybody is to give them permissions that they can be themselves too, right? That you're okay with that. I'm okay with that. I know what it feels like to be down, and I know how it feels like to be up, right? I know all of that. And I'm okay with you being that way too. And then self-value. So knowing that the value is intrinsic to you. So you hear stories about people that they dress like a king or queen, and they go into the store. They get treated like a king or queen, right? They got like fancy jewelry on and expensive clothing, label clothing, things like that. Then they come back disguised, and they dress like a pauper, and then they get treated like crap, right? By the realty or the clerks right there. And does the value of that person change, right? If this person's just doing an experiment, and it's like, no, I felt the same when I was dressed like a pauper or when I was dressed like a queen or a king, right? It was just the way they treated me was different, but I don't let how they treat me affect my value because I know my own value, right? And I know that it's intrinsic to me. It's not about how much money I have in the bank account. It's not about the job I'm doing. It's not about the validation of other people, right? It has nothing to do with the external. This is self-value, right? So this is about you go here, right? Know your own value, your own self-worth. Don't let anybody else define your self-value, your self-worth. And then the other thing is use your resources consciously. So your true resources are your energy, your time, and your talents. It's not about the material. You're the formless. That's the self. The eternal self is formless. That's where all forms come from. They're coming from you, the self, right? So that's your resources, is your energy, your time, and your talents, right? So not to give your power over to what's out here, right? What's out here, that know that my true resources are coming from inside me, right? All my resources come from within, right? And then you become the phoenix, right? We're in this phoenix until 2027. This is coming in strong, the phoenix. And the phoenix is self-reliant, right? It's self-reliant. It's moving out of that old paradigm, the ashes of the old paradigm, the old self, and being reborn, right? So the other thing is the North Node, right? The North Node, remember this is not randomly picked. It's the decan. It's the first decan of Taurus, right? So the Five of Pentacles, North Node. North Node's in 27. It's all about nurturing, right? Nurturing yourself. And the Five of Pentacles. So some questions to ask yourself is, how is my fixation on scarcity holding me back? Am I too focused on what's not there, right? What's not there. Remember that the resources are inside you. It's all inside you. And often, most times, it takes time because we live in time and space for it to manifest, for things to manifest. But life's bringing that to you. And I often say to the people, well, I'm not seeing the money in my rent. Well, when's your rent due? Is it due today? No, it's due in 2 weeks. Well, it will show up in 2 weeks then, right? This is about us coming into the eternal now, and it's moment by moment. This is the North Node is showing us. It's like moment by moment. It's just about persistence, right? And focusing on what is there. This is gratitude, right? What's working well in your life right now. Focus on that. Be aware of stubborn negative thinking, right? So that we can see this with the characters in this card, right? There's the light, but they're not focused on that at all. Right? She's looking at the snow. I don't know what he's looking at, up at the sky or something. Right? That they're not seeing that there's support there. Right? There's support there by life, by the divine. Right? It's like too focused on the scarcity. It's not there. The hopelessness, right? The worrying, the negative thinking, expecting the worst. You want to let go of all of that, right? You want to have the experience, the deep experience that the divine life is taking care of you, not your ego's needs and projections and right? And the ego wants a soulmate, wants somebody else to do all that. I want them to take care of me. No, you're not going to grow, right? You're not going to grow. You're only going to grow when you become self-reliant, like higher self-reliant. And remember that the relationship, your number one priority, your number one relationship is your relationship with the divine. That's your number one relationship for everybody on the planet. That's what you want to nurture. That's what you want to cultivate now. That's your true security, right? And then valuing this relationship, nurturing this relationship, right? So taking your focus off of the soul draining stuff, right? Overly focused on other people, and then bringing it back to the self, the higher self. Okay. Okay, so that was a lot faster. And I'll put that 8 video right after. So come back and watch that, which will be good. Okay. Let's, I want to do an ego card while you're here. See what we got here. Haven't picked a card in a while. Yeah. So it's all about the authentic self now. It always has been about the authentic self, but this is a huge lesson for us globally. And the thing is, too, maybe you're in a situation now where maybe you lost a lot of friends, right? You may have lost a lot of friends. You don't have, or you're surrounded by people that you don't really feel like you have a deep connection with. But you may be afraid to be on your own, so you'll just stick with these superficial relationships. You just feel alone, basically, even if you're surrounded by people. You could be living with somebody and you can feel alone. Is to know that the divine has put you in that position so that you can focus on yourself, right? Like really go deep within yourself for that nurturance, the 27, right? The spiritual nurturance. Okay. What do we got for our friends here? For the ego. What's the ego telling our friends? This fractal line. What's the ego telling this fractal line? This one right here. Okay. So this fits with my message. Right? Right there. You see him with the fishing rod? This is fishing for compliments. So it's looking for validation, right? Looking for validation from other people. And this is the ego needing to bolster itself up, to inflate itself. And it's never ending. That ego will never feel secure because it's made of insecurities, right? So if it needs validation, it needs constant validation. I need somebody else. This is what we have to let go of. I need that soulmate. I need that savior to tell me that I'm okay, right? But it's never ending. It will never end. It's a black hole. So this is throwing your harpoon in other people, right? Fishing for compliments, fishing for validation, fishing for that sense of self-worth from other people, okay? And the thing is that ego will never believe the compliments. It will take in the compliment, and I can get inflated, get that ego hit, right? That ego hit, but it will only last a couple minutes because it will want the next one. I want the next one. I want the next one. And I really want it from the one that's not giving it to me, right? So you've got to give it to yourself. That's the message, right? So you want to validate yourself, right? The fact that you're alive, that you're still living and breathing, right there is like a pat on the back right now in the energy that we're in right now, right? As spiritual beings, and that we're still here, right? That validate yourself for that. Maybe it's like the ego's telling me such negative talk about myself, and I'm so filled with self-hatred and criticism, and right, that's when you put the prayer out. Well, let my higher self validate me then, right? Let my higher self give me something back. And something will happen, right? And so make that inner voice a lot louder than the ego, right? A lot louder than the ego. So fishing for compliments isn't going to work, right? Not now. It's like you've got to start giving this to yourself. And then people are going to feel that, right? That you're not pulling, that's pulling energy on other people. Pulling, I need you to validate me. I need you to give me my self-worth, right? I need you to complete me. It's like the desperate energy. People can feel that. They get turned off by it. Okay? So that's what I have for you for this new moon, everybody. And remember to follow me on Instagram and Telegram. I don't know how many people are really on Facebook. I'm almost ready to give up on Facebook. I don't know. We'll see. Well, let me know if you're on Facebook, right? If that's a worthwhile way of me, right? How I'm investing my time and energy, right? And yeah, have a great new moon and take good care of yourself. Take this message in and start to move forward on this north node. Come back and watch it too. You can screen grab my stills, right? So that you can have some focus for this new moon. Okay, everybody. Sat Nam Aloha. I'll see you next video sooner than later. Okay, bye-bye.